S22 Ultra was one of Samsung flagship phone that was in the market in the year 2022. And this phone was the flagship of Samsung. 2 years down the line, now we are asking, people are still wondering, is this phone still worth using in 2024? So we are here to find out if the S22 Ultra is still worth your money in the year 2020, in the year 2024. Stay tuned, and here we go. Flagship of the Samsung lineup phone when it comes to the Android phones, and it was one of the phones that developed to ensure that people meet their daily need. First of all, we are going to be talking about 4 different aspects of this phone. One, we'll be talking about the dynamics of this phone. We'll be talking about the dynamics of this phone. We'll be looking at the build quality, and also we'll be looking at the battery. Then most importantly, we'll be looking at the features. So let's start with the build quality of this phone. This 2024, looking at the build quality of this phone, you can see that this phone still looks futuristic, has this elegant design, has this ring cameras, 3 ring cameras with these 2 small rings at the bottom here, showing that despite we are in 2024, this phone is something that even if you still bring it out, people will still resonate with it. So for the build quality, this phone looks very, very beautiful in 2024. Now for the performance. This particular phone comes with the 12 gig RAM, that enables this phone to perform at its optimal best. And it comes with a Snapdragon Gen 1 processor. The only downside to this phone is that for this phone, because as at 2022, Samsung was using 2 chips, the Exynos and the Snapdragon. But we'll talk more about the Snapdragon towards the end of this video. Now the battery life. Let's talk about the battery life. The battery life of this phone, it carries a 5000 milliamp battery, which means it packs enough to show that this phone can still do what its new competitors are doing. So even the S24 Ultra that is in the market right now still carries the same 5000 milliamp battery. So the question is, yes, it's a 2 years phone, but it still carries a battery that will still last you between 8 or 7.5 to 8.5 hours per day, depending on the usage. The gaming on this phone still looks very, very nice, and it does not lag. That overheating that used to be an issue is not an issue to a large extent, because remember, it's the full spec of Samsung. It comes the high-end flagship of their phone. And also, take note, this phone, to a large extent, gives high-end performance. It has 120 refresh rate. So the refresh rate is so fast, and that is what is even in the market today. All the phones in the market are still using, even the flagship of the S24 Ultra that came out early this year is still using 120 refresh rate. So for the battery is good to go, and it's still okay. Now, looking at the camera. When you look at the camera, you can see that the picture quality of this camera still looks very, very good. You can see the picture quality. You can see the picture quality. The picture quality of this phone is still up to par. That's 3 zoom. You can see me zooming in. 3 times zoom in. You can see it. This is 10 times. You can see it. So there is nothing to lose here when it comes to this camera. So the camera of this particular phone still looks futuristic. Still looks futuristic. Now let's go to the video. You can see it can record an 8K video. So you can see the video. You can see the video. So this phone to a large extent, still packs that punch that makes it beautiful and makes it worth getting in 2024. Another thing you should know is that this phone still supports software updates, because remember, in 2022, this phone has a 4 years update. It has a 4 years update that will last till 2026. So the end of 2026, before this phone will stop receiving updates. So there is nothing to lose. We are just in 2024, and the price is still, and the phone is still getting an update that helps increase the performance of this phone. Now, in overall, this phone, do you go for it? The short answer is yes. It is a good phone to go for in this 2024 because, one, I'll tell you the pros before I'll tell you the cons. One, the price of this phone as at 2024 is between, that's the used, because you can't get a new one anymore. The used is between 750 to 800,000. 750 to 800,000. Why? If you are going for the flagship, which is the S22 Ultra, you will pay a premium of up to 1.6 million, knowing for a fact that this phone still carries a good punch, can still deliver. And remember, it was the flagship of Samsung as at when this phone was designed. Two, the build quality. It has a beautiful futuristic build quality. This ring is still the same. It's still the same with the S24 Ultra. The design is it's still the same. It's just that for the S24 Ultra, you have this flat screen. The resolution still holds its ground. So it is worth noting that this phone, to a large extent, can still deliver without any issue. Another thing to note again is that the battery, it has a 5,000 milliamp battery, a 5,000 milliamp battery that still carries between 7 to 8 hours, depending on the usage. Then you can see it is something that, with your money, half the price, you are getting the best value for your money. Now, what are the downside? The downside of this phone is, most especially, one, this phone came with 2 chipsets. As at then, Samsung was still using the Snapdragon and the Exynos. So if you are going for this phone, please ensure that you go for the Snapdragon Gen 1. The Exynos, to a large extent, has been recorded that to an extent that it overheats. It does overheating to a large extent, and it does not enable the phone to enjoy better performance. So if you are going for this phone, please ensure that you are going for the Snapdragon Gen chipset in this phone. So these are the reasons why you should go for the S22 Ultra in 2024. Is it still worth it? Absolutely yes. Is it something that when you get it, yes, you will still enjoy your money's worth? Absolutely yes. My verdict is half the price, greater the performance. So it's a thumb up from me for the S22 Ultra. Thank you. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. And until I see you all in my next video, I want to say remain blessed. Bye bye.